Hello, my name is Betty. I'm 72 years old, and today I want to share the most heartbreaking story of my life. It's about my grandson Tyler, the boy I raised as my own son for 18 years, and how he broke my heart in the cruelest way possible on what should have been the happiest day of his life. This story begins 18 years ago, on the worst day of my life. It was December 15th, 2005, when I received the phone call that changed everything. My daughter Jessica, only 23 years old, had been killed in a car accident. She left behind a 6-month-old baby boy named Tyler and a father who had disappeared from their lives before the child was even born. I remember standing in that hospital room, looking at my grandson sleeping peacefully in his crib, completely unaware that his world had just collapsed. The social worker was explaining the options: foster care, adoption through the state, or family placement. There was no choice to be made. Tyler was my blood, my daughter's son, and I would move heaven and earth before I let him go into the system. "Mrs. Betty," the social worker said gently, "I understand your feelings, but raising a baby at your age isn't easy. You're 54 years old, recently widowed, working full-time. Are you sure you're prepared for this responsibility?" I looked at that precious baby with his mother's dark hair and my late husband's blue eyes and said with more conviction than I'd ever felt about anything, "This child is my family. I'll do whatever it takes to give him the life my daughter would have wanted." The legal process took 3 months, but finally, Tyler came home with me. I had spent those months transforming my quiet house into a home fit for a child. I painted the spare bedroom with bright colors, filled it with toys and books, and prepared myself for the beautiful chaos that comes with raising a baby. Those early years were the hardest and most rewarding of my life. I was working as a secretary at a law firm during the day and caring for Tyler at night. There were moments when I was so exhausted I could barely stand, but every time I saw his smile, every time he reached for me with those tiny hands, I knew I was exactly where I was supposed to be. When Tyler turned 2 and called me Grandma Betty for the first time, my heart melted completely. But as he grew older, I noticed he was confused about family relationships. Other children had mommies and daddies, but he just had Grandma Betty. One day, when he was 4 years old, Tyler asked the question I had been dreading. "Grandma Betty, where is my mommy?" I sat him down and, in the simplest way possible, explained that his mommy had gone to heaven when he was very small, and that's why he lived with me. I showed him pictures of Jessica, told him stories about what a wonderful, loving person she was, and assured him that she was watching over both of us. From that moment on, Tyler became obsessed with his mother's memory. He would spend hours looking at her photos, asking me to tell him stories about her childhood, her dreams, her favorite things. It broke my heart to see such a young child carrying that kind of loss, but I did my best to keep Jessica's memory alive for him. As Tyler grew older, I made sure he knew he was loved unconditionally. I attended every school play, every parent-teacher conference, every soccer game. When other children were picked up by their parents, Tyler was picked up by his grandmother, who loved him just as much. I sacrificed everything for that boy. I turned down promotions that would have required travel. I declined invitations to senior activities because Tyler needed me at home. I spent my entire savings on his education, clothes, sports equipment, and anything else he needed or wanted. When Tyler was 10, I was diagnosed with diabetes. The medical bills were substantial, but I never let Tyler know about our financial struggles. I took a second job, working evenings at a retail store, telling Tyler I was just helping a friend so he wouldn't worry about money. The teenage years brought their own challenges. Tyler became moody and distant, as most teenagers do. But I noticed he seemed particularly resentful about living with his grandmother instead of having normal parents. He would make comments like, "Other kids don't have to live with their grandparents," or "I wish I had a real family like everyone else." Those words cut deep, but I understood. Tyler was dealing with grief and identity issues that most teenagers don't face. I tried to be patient, to give him space, while still providing the love and guidance he needed. When Tyler turned 16, I surprised him with a car. It wasn't new, but it was reliable and would give him the independence he craved. I had been saving for 2 years, working those evening retail shifts to afford it. Tyler's reaction wasn't what I expected. Instead of excitement or gratitude, he seemed almost annoyed. "Thanks, Grandma Betty," he said flatly, "but couldn't you have gotten something newer? All my friends have nicer cars than this." I was hurt by his ingratitude, but I reminded myself that teenagers often don't appreciate sacrifices until they're older. Surely, when Tyler matured, he would understand everything I had done for him. During his senior year of high school, Tyler became increasingly focused on his 18th birthday. He talked about it constantly, making plans for parties, talking about finally being an adult, finally being able to make his own decisions. I was excited too. My little boy was becoming a man, and despite all the challenges, I was proud of how he had turned out. He was graduating with good grades, had been accepted to several colleges, and seemed to have a bright future ahead of him. I started planning a special birthday celebration for Tyler's 18th. Nothing too expensive, but something meaningful. I wanted to give him a party he would remember forever. A celebration of not just his birthday, but of our journey together. I had no idea that Tyler was planning something too, something that would destroy me completely and change our relationship forever. What I discovered on Tyler's 18th birthday was that the sweet little boy who used to call me Grandma Betty, who used to curl up in my lap for bedtime stories, had been planning to break my heart in the most devastating way possible. Tyler's 18th birthday fell on a Saturday in March. I had been planning this day for weeks, wanting to make it perfect for the boy who had been the center of my world for almost 2 decades. I woke up early that morning, just as I had every morning for 18 years, and prepared Tyler's favorite breakfast, pancakes with blueberries and real maple syrup. I arranged everything beautifully on our best dishes, with a small wrapped gift beside his plate. When Tyler came downstairs, I was beaming with excitement. "Happy birthday, sweetheart," I said, giving him the biggest hug. "You're officially an adult now." His response was cold and distant. "Yeah, thanks, Grandma Betty. What's this?" he asked, pointing to the gift without any enthusiasm. "Just a little something to start your special day. Open it." Inside the small box was a watch that had belonged to my late husband, Tyler's grandfather. I had been saving it for this exact moment, wanting to give Tyler something meaningful that connected him to his family history. Tyler looked at the watch for a few seconds, then set it aside without comment. "Oh, thanks, I guess." His indifference stung, but I pushed forward with my plans for the day. I had arranged a small party for that evening with a few of his friends, ordered his favorite cake from the bakery, and even splurged on decorations. "Tyler," I said as we sat down for breakfast, I've planned a wonderful party for tonight. Nothing too big, just a few of your friends, and I thought we could—" "Actually, Grandma Betty," Tyler interrupted, "I have my own plans for tonight. I'm going out with Madison." Madison was Tyler's girlfriend, a pretty 17-year-old who had been coming around for about 6 months. I liked her well enough, though I had noticed she seemed uncomfortable around me and rarely stayed long when she visited. "That's fine, dear," I said, trying to hide my disappointment. "We can do the party tomorrow instead. I just thought it would be nice to celebrate your big day together." Tyler shrugged and continued eating his pancakes in silence. The breakfast I had made with so much love was consumed without appreciation or conversation. Around noon, Madison arrived at our house. I greeted her warmly, as I always did, but she barely acknowledged me. She and Tyler went up to his room, and I could hear them talking in hushed tones for hours. At one point, I went upstairs to offer them lunch and heard fragments of their conversation through Tyler's bedroom door. "Can't wait to get out of here," Madison was saying. "I know, just a few more hours," Tyler responded. "She's so clingy," Madison continued. "Won't be a problem much longer." I knocked on the door, not wanting to eavesdrop, and offered them sandwiches. They accepted with minimal politeness and returned to their private conversation. As the afternoon wore on, I noticed Tyler packing some of his belongings into boxes. When I asked what he was doing, he said he was just organizing his room now that he was 18. That evening, Tyler and Madison left for their birthday celebration. I spent the evening alone, surrounded by party decorations I had put up for a celebration that wasn't going to happen, eating birthday cake by myself. I went to bed disappointed, but not suspicious. I thought Tyler was just being a typical teenager, asserting his independence on his 18th birthday. I assumed he would be more appreciative tomorrow, once the excitement of being legally adult wore off. I was woken up the next morning by the sound of voices downstairs. Looking at the clock, I saw it was only 7 a.m. Tyler typically slept until at least 10 on Sundays. I put on my robe and went downstairs to find Tyler, Madison, and a man I didn't recognize standing in my living room. Tyler was carrying the boxes I had seen him packing the day before. "Good morning," I said, confused by the scene. "Tyler, what's going on? Who is this gentleman?" The stranger stepped forward and introduced himself. "Mrs. Betty, I'm James Morrison, Madison's father. I'm here to help Tyler with the situation." "What situation?" I asked, a terrible feeling beginning to form in my stomach. Tyler looked at me with an expression I had never seen before. Cold, determined, almost cruel. "Grandma Betty," he said, "I need you to sit down. We have something important to discuss." I sat down on my own couch, feeling like a stranger in my own home. "Now that I'm 18, Tyler continued, I've been thinking about my living situation. Madison and I want to be together, and frankly, I'm tired of living with my grandmother. It's embarrassing. None of my friends have to live with their grandparents." Each word was like a knife to my heart. "Tyler, what are you saying?" "I'm saying I want you to move out. This is legally my house now, since I inherited it from my mother, and I want to live here with Madison. Her father has agreed to let us live together as long as we're both responsible adults." The world seemed to stop spinning. I stared at this young man, this child I had raised from infancy, who was telling me to leave the home I had lived in for over 30 years. "Tyler," I said, my voice shaking, "this is my house. I've been paying the mortgage, the taxes, the utilities. Your mother's will left everything to you, but only when you turn 25. Until then, I'm your legal guardian and the executor of the estate." Madison's father stepped forward again. "Actually, Mrs. Betty, we've consulted with a lawyer. Since Tyler is now 18, he can petition the court to take immediate control of his inheritance. The process will take a few months, but in the meantime, he has the right to make decisions about his residence. Tyler looked at me with no emotion whatsoever. I've already filed the paperwork. You have 30 days to find somewhere else to live. Madison and I are moving in today. I felt like I was having a nightmare. This couldn't be happening. The child I had sacrificed everything for, who I had loved unconditionally for 18 years, was throwing me out of my own home on his 18th birthday. "Tyler, please," I begged, tears starting to flow. "This is all a misunderstanding. We can work this out. There's no need for you to take legal action. We can share the house or find another solution." "No, Grandma Betty, I've made up my mind. I'm an adult now, and I want to start my adult life without you interfering. You've been controlling my life for 18 years, and I'm done with it." "Controlling? Tyler, everything I've done has done because I love you. If you really loved me, you would have let me live with a normal family instead of making me grow up with just a grandmother. Do you know how weird it is to never have real parents? Do you know how embarrassing it's been all these years?" I was sobbing now, unable to believe what I was hearing. Madison, who had been silent throughout this devastating conversation, finally spoke up. "Tyler," Madison interrupted, "she's had 18 years to figure out what she was going to do when I became an adult. This shouldn't come as a surprise." But it was a complete surprise. I had assumed Tyler and I would continue living together while he attended college, that he would always have a place in what I considered our home. The man who called himself Madison's father handed me a folder of legal documents. "These are copies of the petitions Tyler has filed. You'll be receiving official notice from the court within a few days, but I wanted you to have advance warning, so you can start making arrangements." I looked at Tyler one more time, hoping to see some hint of the loving child I had raised, some sign of remorse or uncertainty about what he was doing. Instead, he looked impatient and annoyed. "Look, Grandma Betty, I'm not trying to be mean. I just need space to grow up and become my own person. You can visit sometimes once Madison and I are settled." "Visit?" I could barely speak. "Tyler, I raised you. I sacrificed everything for you. This is my home, too." "Actually, it's not," he replied coldly. "It's my inheritance, and I want to start living my life the way I choose." That afternoon, I watched Tyler and Madison move his belongings into what had been the master bedroom, the room I had shared with my husband for 25 years, the room where I had comforted Tyler through countless childhood nightmares. I spent the next 30 days in shock, staying in the guest room of my neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, while I tried to figure out what to do with my life. At 72 years old, I was homeless, heartbroken, and completely betrayed by the person I had loved most in the world. But what Tyler didn't know, what I had never told him, was that there was much more to his inheritance than just the house. There was a secret I had been keeping for 18 years, a secret that would change everything once the truth came out. The weeks following Tyler's betrayal were the darkest of my life. I found myself staying in a small studio apartment that was all I could afford on my Social Security income. After paying rent, I had barely enough money left for food and basic necessities. Every day, I drove past the house where I had lived for over 30 years, the house where I had raised Tyler with all the love in my heart. I could see Madison's car in the driveway, see young people coming and going at all hours, and it felt like watching strangers occupy my entire life. Mrs. Patterson, my sweet neighbor who had offered me temporary shelter, visited me regularly in my tiny apartment. She was outraged by Tyler's treatment of me. "Betty," she said during one of her visits, "I cannot believe that boy. After everything you've done for him, working 2 jobs to pay for his car, his clothes, his college fund, and this is how he repays you?" I appreciated her support, but I was more heartbroken than angry. I kept thinking there had to be some explanation, some way this could all be a misunderstanding that would eventually be resolved. 3 months after Tyler kicked me out, I received a call from David Harrison, the lawyer who had handled Jessica's estate 18 years earlier. "Mrs. Betty," he said, "I need to see you in my office as soon as possible. Tyler has been asking about accessing his full inheritance, and there are some things about your daughter's will that need to be discussed." When I met with Mr. Harrison, he looked troubled. "Betty, Tyler came to see me last week demanding access to his inheritance. He seems to believe it consists only of the house and a small savings account. Is that what you told him?" I shifted uncomfortably in my chair. "That's what I've always let him believe, yes." Mr. Harrison pulled out a thick file from his cabinet. "Betty, Tyler's inheritance is worth over $1.2 million. In addition to the house, there's the life insurance settlement from Jessica's accident, the savings account she had established, and most significantly, the trust fund that was set up by Jessica's paternal grandparents before they died." My heart sank. I had hoped we would never have to deal with this conversation. "The will is very specific," Mr. Harrison continued. "Tyler inherits everything when he turns 25, but there are conditions. If at any point before his 25th birthday he treats you with disrespect, abandons you, or fails to care for you as you cared for him, the inheritance is forfeit and goes instead to charity." I sat in stunned silence. "Betty, Jessica was very concerned about Tyler potentially taking you for granted. She specifically included clauses about respecting and caring for you. Based on what you've told me about recent events, Tyler has violated those conditions." "But Mr. Harrison," I said, "Tyler doesn't know about these conditions. He thinks he's inheriting just the house." That's precisely the problem. Jessica wanted Tyler to care for you out of love and gratitude, not obligation. The fact that he's rejected you without even knowing about the money proves that his actions aren't motivated by greed, but by genuine ingratitude. Mr. Harrison showed me the relevant section of the will. It was written in Jessica's handwriting, a letter she had attached to the legal documents. "If something happens to me, I want Tyler to understand that Betty is the most selfless, loving person I've ever known. She raised me after my parents died, and I know she would do the same for Tyler. My greatest fear is that Tyler might take her love for granted or treat her as a burden rather than a blessing. If Tyler ever abandons Betty or treats her cruelly, I want him to learn that love and respect cannot be bought, and consequences follow those who abuse the people who sacrifice for them." Reading my daughter's words, written when Tyler was just an infant, brought tears to my eyes. Jessica had understood that raising a child alone would be challenging, and she had tried to protect both Tyler and me in the only way she could. "Mr. Harrison," I said, "what exactly does this mean for Tyler?" "It means that legally, Tyler has forfeited his inheritance. The money will go to the children's charity Jessica specified in the will. However, there's a provision for a grace period. If Tyler realizes his mistake and makes genuine amends before his 19th birthday, the inheritance can be restored." "A grace period?" Jessica wanted Tyler to have a chance to learn from his mistakes. If he comes to you, admits he was wrong, asks for forgiveness, and proves that he understands the value of what you've done for him, then you have the discretion to restore his inheritance. I left that meeting with my head spinning. Tyler had no idea what he had lost. He was living in what he thought was his house, believing he was inheriting a modest estate, completely unaware that his cruel treatment of me had cost him over $1 million. For weeks, I struggled with what to do. Part of me wanted Tyler to learn this lesson the hard way. After the heartbreak he had caused me, there was a certain satisfaction in knowing he would eventually discover the consequences of his actions. But a larger part of me still loved him desperately and hoped he would come to his senses before it was too late. I decided to wait and see if Tyler would reach out to me on his own. Surely, after a few months of adult responsibilities, he would realize how much I had done for him. Surely, he would miss the unconditional love and support I had always provided. But months passed, and I heard nothing from Tyler except through Mrs. Patterson, who occasionally saw him around the neighborhood. The reports were disturbing. Tyler and Madison were throwing parties frequently, causing problems for neighbors. There were complaints about noise, property damage, and general disrespect. Several times, police had been called to break up parties that had gotten out of control. Even worse, Mrs. Patterson reported that Tyler appeared to be struggling financially. Despite believing he owned the house outright, he seemed unable to keep up with basic expenses like utilities and property taxes. 6 months after Tyler kicked me out, I received another call from Mr. Harrison. "Betty, Tyler came to see me again. He's trying to take out a loan against the house to pay debts. When I told him he couldn't do that until he's 25, he became very angry. He demanded to know why there are so many restrictions on his inheritance." "Did you tell him about the conditions in the will?" "Not yet. I told him I needed to review the documents with you first. Betty, I think it's time Tyler learned the truth about what he's lost." I knew Mr. Harrison was right, but I also knew that once Tyler learned about the money and the conditions, it would be impossible to know whether any apology from him would be genuine or motivated by greed. That's when I made a decision that would test Tyler's character once and for all, and determine whether the sweet little boy I had raised was still somewhere inside the young man who had broken my heart. I decided that Tyler needed to learn the truth about his inheritance, but not in a way that would allow greed to motivate his response. I wanted to know if any part of the loving child I had raised still existed inside the cruel young man who had thrown me out of my own home. Working with Mr. Harrison, we devised a plan that would test Tyler's character completely. The plan was simple but devastating. Tyler would be told about the full extent of his inheritance, but he would also learn that he had already lost it due to his treatment of me. However, he wouldn't be told about the grace period that could restore his inheritance if he made genuine amends. If Tyler came to me after learning about the money, we would know his apology was motivated by greed. But if he had truly learned to value our relationship, he would reach out regardless of financial consequences. Mr. Harrison called Tyler and asked him to come to the office to discuss his inheritance. I wasn't there for that meeting, but Mr. Harrison told me what happened. "Tyler," Mr. Harrison had said, "I need to inform you about the full scope of your mother's estate." He then explained about the life insurance settlement, the trust fund, and the total value of over $1.2 million. Tyler was shocked. According to Mr. Harrison, his first reaction was excitement, then confusion about why he had been told the inheritance was so modest. That's when Mr. Harrison delivered the devastating news. Tyler, your mother included specific conditions in her will regarding your treatment of Betty. She was very concerned that you might take for granted the sacrifices Betty would make for you. Mr. Harrison showed Tyler the relevant sections of the will, including Jessica's handwritten letter. Tyler read his mother's words in stunned silence. Based on your actions over the past 6 months, Mr. Harrison continued, you have violated the conditions of your inheritance. The money will go to charity instead. Tyler's reaction was immediate and explosive. According to Mr. Harrison, he began screaming, demanding to know why no one had told him about these conditions, insisting the will was unfair. You can't do this to me, Tyler had shouted. That's my money. My mother left it to me. Mr. Harrison remained calm. Your mother left it to you with conditions, Tyler. Conditions you chose to violate when you threw Betty out of her home. But I didn't know about the conditions, Tyler protested. That was precisely your mother's point, Mr. Harrison replied. She wanted you to treat Betty well because you loved and respected her, not because you were afraid of losing money. Tyler left that meeting in a rage, but according to Mr. Harrison, he had seemed more angry about losing the money than remorseful about how he had treated me. For 2 weeks after that meeting, I heard nothing from Tyler. Mrs. Patterson reported that there was a lot of shouting coming from the house, and she had seen Tyler pacing in the front yard, talking angrily on his phone. I spent those 2 weeks in an agony of hope and heartbreak. Part of me desperately wanted Tyler to come to me, to apologize, to show that he had learned something from this devastating lesson. But another part of me was terrified that if he did come, it would only be because of the money. The call came on a Thursday evening. My phone rang, and I saw Tyler's name on the caller ID for the first time in 7 months. My hands were shaking as I answered. Grandma Betty? Tyler's voice sounded different, smaller, younger, like the little boy I remembered. Yes, Tyler, it's me. Grandma Betty. I need to talk to you. Can I come over? Yes, of course. You know where I live now. An hour later, there was a soft knock on the door of my tiny studio apartment. When I opened it, I barely recognized the young man standing there. Tyler looked terrible. He had lost weight, his clothes were wrinkled, and his eyes were red, as if he had been crying. This wasn't the confident, cruel young man who had thrown me out of my home. This was a broken, scared boy. Grandma Betty, he said, and his voice cracked. I'm so sorry. I stepped aside to let him into my small apartment. He looked around at my humble living conditions, and I saw his face crumple with what appeared to be genuine remorse. Oh, Grandma Betty, he whispered, what have I done? What have I done to you? We sat down on my small couch, and Tyler began to cry in a way I hadn't seen since he was a small child. I met with Mr. Harrison, he said through his tears. He told me about Mom's will, about all the money, about the conditions. Grandma Betty, I had no idea how much you sacrificed for me. Tyler, I said gently, did you come here because of the money? He looked at me with something like shock. No, I mean, yes, I found out about the money, but that's not why I'm here. He took a shuddering breath. Grandma Betty, finding out about the money made me realize how selfish and horrible I've been, but it's not why I want your forgiveness. I want your forgiveness because I love you, and I've been the worst grandson in the world. Over the next hour, Tyler told me about what his life had been like since he kicked me out. Everything fell apart, Grandma Betty. Without you there to help manage things, I couldn't keep up with the house expenses. Madison and I started fighting because I was stressed about money all the time. Her father stopped helping us because he said I was irresponsible. I could see the pain in his eyes as he continued. And the worst part was how empty the house felt without you. I kept expecting to smell your cooking in the morning, or to hear you humming while you cleaned, or to have you ask me about my day. I didn't realize how much your love filled that house until it was gone. Tyler looked directly at me with tears streaming down his face. I threw away the best thing in my life because I was embarrassed and stupid and ungrateful. I threw away the person who loved me most in the world because I wanted to look cool for a girl who didn't even really love me. What do you mean? I asked. Madison broke up with me last month. She said I was too immature and that she was tired of dealing with my problems. She moved back in with her father, and I've been living alone in that big house, realizing what an idiot I am. Tyler reached over and took my hand. Grandma Betty, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know I hurt you in ways that can't be taken back. But I need you to know that losing the money isn't what taught me my lesson. Living without your love is what taught me my lesson. He was sobbing now, and despite everything he had put me through, my heart broke for him. I miss you so much, Grandma Betty. I miss our breakfast conversations. I miss you helping me with problems. I miss feeling loved unconditionally. I miss having a home instead of just a house. I pulled Tyler into my arms the way I had when he was small and had scraped his knee or had a nightmare. I love you too, Tyler, I whispered. I never stopped loving you. We held each other and cried for a long time. When we finally separated, Tyler looked at me with desperate hope. Grandma Betty, I know I've lost the inheritance, and I deserve to lose it. But can I have something more important back? Can I have you back? Can you ever forgive me? Looking into his eyes, I saw the sincere remorse that I had been hoping for. This wasn't about money. This was about love, loss, and a young man who had finally learned what really mattered. Tyler, I said, there's something I need to tell you about your mother's will. Tyler looked at me with confusion when I told him there was more to discuss about his mother's will. What do you mean, Grandma Betty? Mr. Harrison told me I lost everything. I took a deep breath, knowing that what I was about to reveal would change everything again. Tyler, your mother included a provision in her will that Mr. Harrison didn't tell you about. If you came to me with genuine remorse, if you proved that you learned to value love over money, there's a way for your inheritance to be restored. Tyler stared at me in shock. But I thought it was gone forever. It can be restored if I believe your apology is sincere and if you prove over time that you've truly changed. Your mother called it a second chance clause. She believed in forgiveness and growth even when people make terrible mistakes. Tyler was quiet for a long moment, processing this information. Then he said something that surprised me. Grandma Betty, I don't want you to restore the inheritance. What? I don't want the money back. I want you back. I want to earn your trust and love again, and I don't want money to be part of that equation. Tyler looked around my tiny studio apartment again. But I do want to make things right in other ways. I want to give you back your home. I want to take care of you the way you took care of me. Not because of money, but because it's what I should have been doing all along. Over the following weeks, Tyler proved that his transformation was genuine. He moved out of the house and found a small apartment for himself. He insisted that I move back into our family home, and he took over all the expenses related to maintaining it. More importantly, Tyler began visiting me every day. Not because he had to, but because he wanted to. We resumed our breakfast conversations, our evening talks, our quiet moments together that I had missed so desperately. 3 months after our reconciliation, I made a decision about Tyler's inheritance. I called Mr. Harrison and Tyler to a meeting in the lawyer's office. "Tyler," I said, "I've been observing your behavior for 3 months now. I've seen you sacrifice your own comfort to make sure I'm taken care of. I've seen you prioritize our relationship over everything else in your life. I've seen genuine remorse and real change." Tyler waited nervously for what I would say next. "Your mother would be proud of the young man you've become after learning this lesson. I'm restoring your inheritance." Tyler's reaction wasn't what I expected. Instead of excitement or relief, he started crying. "Grandma Betty," he said, "I don't deserve this." "Maybe not," I replied, "but your mother believed in second chances, and so do I. This money comes with the understanding that you'll use it wisely, that you'll continue to treat people with kindness and respect, and that you'll never forget the lessons you've learned." I paused, then added, "And Tyler, I want you to know that the most important inheritance you have isn't money. It's the love and values your mother and I try to teach you. Those are worth more than all the money in the world." Tyler used his inheritance wisely. He invested most of it, used some to start a scholarship fund for children who had lost their parents, and set aside money to ensure I would be comfortable for the rest of my life. But more importantly, Tyler became the loving, grateful grandson I had always hoped he would be. He never again took for granted the sacrifices made for him, and he made sure to show appreciation for the people who loved him. 2 years later, Tyler met Sarah, a wonderful young woman who respected and appreciated family relationships. When Tyler introduced us, he said, "Sarah, this is my Grandma Betty. She's the most important person in my life, and she raised me when no one else could. If you want to be part of my life, you need to understand that she comes first." Sarah embraced me warmly and said, "Tyler has told me so much about you, Mrs. Betty. I can't wait to learn from you and be part of your family." Today, as I sit in the garden of the home where I raised Tyler, watching him play with his and Sarah's 6-month-old daughter Emma, I'm overwhelmed with gratitude for the journey we've been through together. Tyler and Sarah live in the house next door, which they bought so they could be close to me while still having their independence. Every morning, Tyler comes over for coffee and to check if I need anything. Every evening, the whole family comes for dinner. Little Emma has become the light of my life, just as Tyler was 20 years ago. But this time, I'm not raising a grandchild alone out of tragedy. I'm enjoying being a great-grandmother surrounded by a loving, intact family. Tyler is now 25 years old and has full control of his inheritance. But he continues to make decisions with wisdom and gratitude. He's used his money to start a non-profit organization that helps grandparents who are raising grandchildren, providing financial support and resources for families facing the challenges we once faced. The organization is called Jessica's Legacy, named after his mother, and it has helped over 300 families in the past 3 years. But the most important change in Tyler isn't what he does with his money, it's how he treats people. Tyler has become one of the kindest, most respectful young men I know. He learned his lessons so completely that he now goes out of his way to show appreciation for everyone, from the barista at his favorite coffee shop to the maintenance workers in his office building. Last week, Tyler came to me with tears in his eyes. "Grandma Betty," he said, "I need to tell you something I've never said properly." "What's that, sweetheart?" "Thank you. Thank you for never giving up on me, even when I was cruel to you. Thank you for loving me unconditionally for 18 years, and then forgiving me when I didn't deserve it. Thank you for seeing the good in me, even when I couldn't see it in myself." Tyler took my hand in both of his. "I know I put you through hell, and I know I can never fully make up for the pain I caused you. But I want you to know that every day for the rest of my life, I'm going to try to be worthy of the love you gave me. I'm not the one you need to thank, Tyler. Your mother, Jessica, is the one who made sure you would learn this lesson. She knew that real love sometimes requires tough consequences, and she set up those conditions in her will because she wanted you to grow up into a man she could be proud of." Tyler nodded. "I think about her every day, and I think about what she would say about the man I've become. I hope she's proud of both of us." "I know she is, sweetheart. The most beautiful part of our story isn't that Tyler learned to be grateful for his inheritance. It's that he learned to be grateful for love itself." He tells his daughter Emma stories about her great-great-grandmother Jessica, and about how families sometimes face challenges that make them stronger. He's teaching her to say thank you, to show appreciation, and to never take love for granted. And when Emma gets older, Tyler plans to tell her about the time he almost lost everything because he forgot how precious family love really is. For my part, I learned something important too. I learned that love doesn't always look the way we expect it to. Sometimes love means letting go. Sometimes it means holding on. And sometimes it means allowing people to face the consequences of their actions so they can grow. The year I spent estranged from Tyler was the hardest year of my life, but it was also necessary. If I had enabled his cruelty by accepting it without consequences, Tyler never would have learned to value what we had together. Jessica's wisdom in structuring her will the way she did gave Tyler something invaluable: the opportunity to choose love over entitlement, gratitude over selfishness, and family over pride. Today, Tyler and I have a relationship that's stronger than ever before. We don't take each other for granted because we know what it feels like to lose each other. We don't assume our love will always be there because we've learned that relationships require work, respect, and appreciation. When people ask me about raising Tyler, I tell them that the most important thing isn't providing for children financially or protecting them from hardship. The most important thing is teaching them to value love, to show gratitude, and to understand that their actions have consequences. I also tell them that it's never too late for redemption. Tyler was 18 when he broke my heart, but he was still young enough to learn and grow. If I had written him off as hopeless, if I had refused to forgive him, both of us would have missed out on the beautiful relationship we have today. My name is Betty. I'm 74 years old now, and I'm surrounded by more love than I ever imagined possible. I raised my grandson for 18 years, watched him break my heart, and then watched him put it back together again. Our story isn't just about a boy who learned to appreciate his grandmother. It's about the power of unconditional love, the importance of consequences, and the miracle of second chances. If you're a grandparent raising grandchildren, know that your love matters more than you can imagine. If you're feeling unappreciated or taken for granted, don't give up hope. Love has a way of teaching lessons that nothing else can teach. And if you're someone who has taken a loved one for granted, remember Tyler's story. It's never too late to say you're sorry, to change your behavior, and to start showing the appreciation that the people who love you deserve. Because at the end of the day, love is the only inheritance that really matters. Money comes and goes, but the love we give and receive shapes who we become and determines the legacy we leave behind. Tyler almost lost both his financial inheritance and his emotional inheritance. Thanks to his mother's wisdom and his own capacity for growth, he was able to reclaim both. But if he had been forced to choose between them, I know now that he would choose love. And that's how I know he's truly learned the lesson his mother wanted him to learn. Some stories end with revenge. Some stories end with tragedy. Our story ended with redemption, forgiveness, and a love that proved stronger than pride, stronger than hurt, and strong enough to give us both a second chance at family. If Betty's story broke your heart like it broke mine, I desperately need your help right now. This channel is brand new. I only have 5 videos, and I'm posting a new heartbreaking story every single day. But here's the problem. YouTube isn't showing these stories to anyone because I don't have enough subscribers yet. These incredible stories of grandparents, family betrayal, and ultimate redemption are sitting here with almost 0 views, while thousands of people who need to hear them never get the chance.